Okay, Snowline had absolutely fantastic results announced this week. Look at this, 404.8 meters of 2.3 grams per ton. Inside of that, really up at the top of this, there was 100.8 meters of 4.7 grams per ton. That is disgustingly high grade. Okay, I mean wonderfully high grade. Sorry. These are some of the best holes I've seen in a long time come out of any project in the mining industry. The uniformity of grade in these holes is to die for. In other words, it's not driven by little high-grade nuggety pockets or whatever. Go to the next slide. You can see that in this table. Look, they did capped comparisons here. Okay, so they have the grade in grams per ton. You look up there at the top, top right, okay, up in the corner. 1.77, but if they cap it at 10 grams, guess what? There weren't any assays that were over 10 grams. Okay, therefore, the capped grade is the same as the reported grade here. It's 1.77. Little bit of a change, little tiny bit. There was like one assay, there's 16.8 grams, and then a 32 grammer down lower that shift the grade a little bit, but otherwise, this stuff is just, it's like the bowl of soup analogy, guys. It is a giant bowl of soup, bowl of gold that is very well behaved. Anybody who's a grade control geologist here could probably go on a 2-month holiday and come back, and the mine will have operated without any problems whatsoever. Okay, now what does this data mean? Let's go to the next slide. I do have a 3D model, by the way. Okay, so there's just 2 holes in this news release, and you say, well, look, these are in the middle of areas they've already drilled, la, 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 whatever. And I hate to hear things like that because they're actually very meaningful, okay? And people that just don't know what they're talking about spout off like this at a time when the company is trying to actually show something very meaningful. So I'm going to try to elucidate. Now, first thing I'm going to show will be cross-section. But before we move on to that, cast your eyes on this plan view. This is a plan view. So we're looking down like a bird looking down on the ground, okay? You can see the company has a lot of drill holes they've already completed this year. Those blue dots with the line, and then there's little yellow stars, or bloody hard, or yellow dots, I guess they are. Little tiny dots. Those are a preview of things to come. Okay, I'm going to start in the upper left, and I'm going to work my way down to the lower right here. Notice Notice the hole that goes cattywampus off there, going off from east to west. Look at all the yellow dots there. That's a big area where there's no perceived mineralization right now. And that hole, as it went down into the ground, they're seeing visible gold the whole way down. You think that might add some tons? Yeah, I think that could be a really good outcome. Okay, next thing I'm going to point out, there's a series of drill pads along the northeast margin. So go upper right, you can see some blue dots, and even in interior there's some pads in the middle. These holes are very important. Why? The ones in the northeast go underneath the existing drilling, and they're seeing yellow dots the whole way down. Okay, look at the yellow dots. Wow, look at what is that, hole 83, I think it is. Just yellow dots the whole shebang, the whole way down. 77. But also the ones that go the opposite direction see the same thing. I can't read the numbers, sorry guys. I think 75 and 70 something other. Yellow dots the whole way. Okay, there's going to be a lot more gold found this year in areas, and these guys are smart. Okay, they know where they have gaps, areas that they haven't drilled, whatever, that they need to shore up to grow this resource. Now, the last place I want to cast people's eyes down is this area in the lower right. It's kind of hidden behind the legend. I wish we could take that legend off and throw it off to the side for a bit. But you can see there's a hole or two tucked right underneath that legend where there's yellow polka dots down the entire bloody thing. Okay, now last year when they left off drilling, it was very clear that the deposit is open down plunge on the southeast end. Guess what those holes are telling us? The thing is wide open. Okay, could this grow? Yes. Okay, it is not static. This thing is growing in multiple directions, including infill, but it has a lot of room to grow, and I think the company's doing a fantastic job prioritizing their drilling to test these ideas. Go to the next slide. We're going to look at cross sections now. This shows you that 450 meter interval of 1.77 grams. You can see right away that it fills a pretty big gap between two holes. I think it's 10 and whatever that is off to the east. There's almost 200 meters between those holes. Okay, so to have a hole in between here and it confirm all of the high grades that we're seeing, if not even enhance the grades, look at how far down that hole the grades continue. I think is a very good outcome. Now, look at the hole that scissors. It goes the opposite way. Okay, there's another hole, and they see yellow polka dots down the whole thing, even down towards the bottom. Okay, so down at the bottom, there's a lot of little gray blocks, you see. If the assays come back from those with pretty good gold, there's a whole bunch of gold they're going to add down the low part of that drill hole. That's a great outcome. Let's go to the next slide. Same thing here. Okay, so this hole 72 kind of fills a gap of about 100 meters between the two pre-existing holes, number 48 and 39. I believe it is. Great. It also extends gold down deeper. Okay, I think you're going to see expansion of blocks in that area with that will now be upgraded, probably both in terms of grade as well as confidence. So it increases indicated level of mineralization. Now there's two holes I want to draw your attention to. One is the yellow polka dots going down the next hole, which is hole 75. Look at all the way to the end of that hole. Yellow polka dots, the whole shebang. Look at all that stuff down, those blocks down in that area. Very low grade, kind of that, fuzzy end of the spectrum grade. Not anymore. I think we're going to see extensions down there. And I would say that hole 74, which is way over here on the right-hand side, it goes down. Look at right at the end there. There's a whole bunch of yellow polka dots crammed together. Wow, that's a lot of gold that can be added to the system. All right, so that's wonderful. Go to the next slide. Okay, before we go on to Jupiter, let me okay, this week I really hope this doggone thing does not give me fits. Okay, we're going to click on that one. You guys see this, right?
Yes, now we do.
Hallelujah. I don't know what computer glitch there was last week, but man, that was annoying. Okay, so here's our two holes from this week. This is simply the model of drilling, okay? I'm going to highlight those holes so people can see them for reference. I actually tagged one of them right here with a little blue pointer. Okay, so there's one of them, and it does infill between this hole and this hole. Very, very stout infill hole. And then there's another one. Sorry, I got to tip it up so I can see the collar label. Let me see, where is it? It's that green one back there. There it is. I think it's this guy right here. Okay, there. Boom, that guy right there. Very high grades up here, but it continues all the way to the end of the hole. Good grades down to the end of the hole. Okay, so those fill in things, but let me just highlight the areas that they are now seeing stuff. Look, I didn't plot up all the little yellow polka dot holes, but I'm going to tell you this. First of all, we're looking northeast, guys. Stick with me. Sorry, I'm not to get spastic when I'm looking at these. There's one hole that went off this way. Saw a bunch of yellow polka dots over here. I think we're going to see growth on the northwest end of the system. We saw over here several holes that come underneath here. Lots of yellow polka dots in basically this area right here. So I think the thing is open to the southeast down plunge. I think we're going to see a big addition of mineralization in this area. And then on the back side here, okay, we had several holes coming underneath here. You remember the TP that are, tent shaped thing that I talked about? Okay, there's a big void of drilling underneath here, like in this area. And I think we're going to see a lot of tons added down here. Okay, everybody's like, the 7 point whatever million ounces, is that it? No, it's not it. Okay, I think there's a lot more to come. Michael Gray does a good job of explaining it too in his write-up. He's with Agentis. If people want to get on the internet, look it up. This thing's got a lot of room to grow, guys. Okay, so I do think this is an exciting result. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to go back to the deck. There you guys, a lot of jumping around today. Okay, now we're going to jump up to Jupiter. Now, you remember they cleaned up the land ownership around Jupiter. They had a minority partner in there. It was a little awkward. They basically cleaned them up with a shared deal, I believe it was. didn't take any significant capital out of the company, and it really cleaned up 100% ownership of that Einerson project, in particular Jupiter, which is that star, that northern star of the two. Valley is right in the center of the image, more or less, and then Jupiter's a few tens of kilometers to the north. Now, are these related? Yes, in a way, but Jupiter's an orogenic gold system. In fact, it's a shallow, we'll call it, epizonal gold system, probably. Could it be related to intrusive activity? Well, there's a lot of intrusions around here, so yeah, it could. Okay, but I do see it as an orogenic system, and I think it's a big one. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, so apparently Snowline, I talked to Scott this week, and apparently Snowline has hired a person, a specific geologist who's focused on Jupiter as a project. I haven't met this person, I haven't talked with him, but it sounds like the guy has very good experience with orogenic gold systems and structure, okay, which is good because there's a lot of cover in this area. There's like kind of gravels and stuff that cover a lot of the rocks in this area. And really, it requires interpretation of drill core to understand what's going on. But this guy or this team that's working at Jupiter, this is not part of Valley. This is 40 odd kilometers north. They have done a fantastic job of building an understanding of this ore system. And I think it's a remarkable, like a very large scale picture that's coming together. What are we looking at? Well, the blues and the yellows are basically bedded stratigraphy. Okay, they're beds of sedimentary or metamorphic rocks that have been folded and tipped up on their end, more or less. All right, so we're looking at plan view over here. Why are we looking at? Well, they're just showing us where they've poked some holes recently, and I think it's mostly down towards the southern area here where they're following up. There were some great results in the heck year was it? 2021? I can't remember now. So ages ago, but they had fantastic, many 100+ gram meter holes out of this project. Very first bat, bam, they were onto a discovery. Okay, now we get to see how this follows up. All right, so what's the takeaway here? The takeaway is on the right-hand side. Okay, so look at the two holes they got that they put in already, this 22 and 23. They also have 24, which they talked about in the news release. It's off section. But you can see this guy went long. I love this. Like Scott was like, wow, he's really aggressive. It's a little spooky watching him drill, several hundred meters away. And I'm like, Scott, for the love of God, let him do it. I love it. I just love to see somebody rock up to a project like this and go, yep, I feel like this thing is going to go down 150, 200 meters or whatever, and poke some holes down there and hit. Okay. So this isn't a dream. Okay. What they're doing, they've drawn a cross section here where they're seeing veining. They don't have assays. Okay. For those deep holes, don't have assays, but they're seeing the quartz veins like they saw in the previous holes. They're seeing this, sulfide disseminated zones around the quartz veins, mineralized zones. Okay. Do you think we're going to see some good news out of this? I don't know. This looks pretty good to me. Okay. That looks, yeah, I think so. Okay. I can't guarantee anything. And I'm about ready to crawl out of my skin because I'm so excited. But this looks pretty darn good. Okay. No promises. Can't promise anything. But I love to see the big step outs, the big thinking. And I love to see the multiple zones of mineralization they've encountered. Imagine projecting this along strike for a couple, 2, 3, 4 kilometers, right? And it could easily be that big. Could you fit some gold in it? Yeah, this could be a big puppy. Okay, this is pretty exciting. The other thing I got excited about, go to the next slide, was the fact they saw visible gold. Okay, they report seeing visible gold. This is their just gentle way of telling the world, oh, we're seeing veins, mineralization. Oh, and by the way, we have a little bit of visible gold. Okay. Stay tuned. Okay. I know these guys well enough to know they're the biggest bunch of sandbaggers you'll ever meet in your life. they'll always understate or under promise and over deliver. I don't want to hold them to it. I'd feel bad if, but I do think this is going to look pretty good. Okay. Go to the next slide. Now we got to talk about 2 other projects they're drilling. Actually, maybe 3. Sorry. So Cujo, look in this map, the red blob rogue, and look to the far left. You'll see a project called Cujo. There's one. And then I think Sydney, which is down in the Cynthia block in the blue. It's towards the north end. That's another one. Go to the next slide. Let me see. Yes, Sydney and Cujo. Correct. Okay. So Cujo, they talked about drilling 3 holes. They did test 3 holes there. Lots of sheeted quartz veining, which was to be expected. I think we talked about Cujo last year. Now, did they see visible gold? No, they didn't. Okay. Does it mean it's the end of the world? We don't know yet. They did see bismuthinite, which is an important trace element or mineral that occurs with gold frequently in these systems. But look, when I asked Scotty, I said, what's your view on Cujo? He says, well, we didn't see the VG like we saw at Valley. I said, well, okay, we'll just see what the assays say. No promises here. Maybe it comes back a bit lower grade or something like that. Who knows? Okay, whatever. Life happens. Okay, but Sydney target, I'm now getting more excited about it, and I'll tell you why. It's because they actually saw VG in some of the veining here. Okay, so look at the photograph, and again, this is very typical of Mr. Birdall. He puts out these wonderful, beautiful outcrop photos. Look at the one at Valley. That's the original photo. That's the Discovery outcrop there in the creek with the little veins going every which way on the right hand side. But he used the one over here on the left to show Sydney. It looks a heck of a lot like Valley. Okay, so to me, I think just reading his language on the phone, I think he's pretty excited about this. Seeing the VG and the quartz veins and stuff, he says, yeah, in scale wise, he thinks this one looks like Valley. Okay, so they're going to drill it. All right, but do we know if there's anything there yet or not? We don't know, but it looks pretty good. Okay, it looks pretty good. So we'll sit tight. Maybe they can deliver another Valley. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now we got to talk about First Nations and exploration in the Yukon. Okay, good, bad, and ugly. All right, the Victoria mine incident a few weeks ago was an embarrassment to the mining industry. It's just ridiculous that something like that would happen in this day and age. I hope to heck that through their investigations they figure out what happened and why it happened, and how they cannot do it again, because stupid stuff like that cannot happen and have a viable mining industry. Okay, now there's been quite a bit of angst over this event. Everybody is, investors, geologists, engineers, the government, First Nations. Everybody's been anxious about this situation. What do I hear through the rumor mill? And look, all I do is hear through the rumor mill. I'm not on site. I don't know people personally, whatever. But, in general, the feedback I've gotten from technical people is that they will be able to manage the mitigation around this heap leach, and they can likely get the operation going again. So that's the first piece of good news. Okay, yes, they do have to address this problem. They can't just go, oh, let's, stack it up again and get going. Wow. No, they got to figure out the problem. Okay, so that's still open-ended. But at least there is a general view forming that they can probably resurrect this. Whether it's Victoria or not, who knows? I mean, this is it's challenging. Okay, now the other thing I've heard, okay, is that they have more or less the treatment of waters contained at this point, and they're processing the waters, and that's mitigating any issues with materials getting outside of the mine site. That's good to hear. Okay, because we don't want stupid stuff like that happen. We don't want to contaminate the environment. I mean, this is very simple. We're all human. We all got to live here, and we all got to perform our best. Now, the Nacho Nyack Dun is the same First Nations that has territory over Victoria as over here at Snowline. Okay, it's a pretty big territory through the kind of central Yukon or east central Yukon. Wonderful people. Last year when I was at site, there's a lot of folks from First Nations who do have work, or they have like the solar panel business that's providing energy for Snowline's camp and so forth. There's a lot at stake here. A lot of people are employed in this project, and right now, Snowline, as I understand it, Snowline is operating within the current permits that they have for exploration, as well as through their current agreement with First Nations. Okay, that's good. That would be expected. I would not want to see anything otherwise. Now, everybody in the Yukon, First Nations included, know that there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of good things that could come to people, First Nations as well as others, over time. In other words, the Yukon is kind of at the cusp where they can grow their economy, and the people are going to be the first beneficiaries of that. Okay, there's roughly 45,000 people in the Yukon. Nobody's going to make light decisions here. I would say that the fact that Snowline is continuing to operating is very comforting. I know that Scott has talked with folks. This is a good sign. Okay, I'm not saying I'm on the front line and I know exactly what's going on, but it sounds like they're able to continue operating. Now, I'm going to throw something out there that, and I hope people watch this video. I don't know who watches this video, but I hope Nacho Nyack Dunn listens to this video, for Pete's sakes, because my view of the mining industry right now is that we don't have enough skilled people in this industry. Okay, truly, I don't think we have enough skilled people. I don't see enough geologists or engineers or environmental scientists or hydrologists, or you pick your favorite technical person you need to run the mining industry. We don't have those. Okay, so I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute here. I'm going to tell you where I want to go with this. I'm working like mad. I'm spending a lot of my time right now working with professors at the Colorado School of Mines here in near Denver to build an institute. We have established an institute called the Earth Resource Innovation Institute, and our goal is to educate the next generation of technical people in the mining industry. I'm sending a large number of Bolivian students up to the School of Mines here shortly to be part of this program. Over time, I hope to grow this. Other companies are now expressing interest, and I think we'll see students coming from all over the planet. But it's wonderful to see the ranks of students getting taught increase at School of Mines. Okay, here's my offer. This is an offer. Okay, you know what? If there are First Nations students, 18, 17, 18, whatever, young folks who want to build a future in the mining industry, like as a technical person, a geologist, an engineer, environmental science, come talk to me. Okay, I'll even figure out how to support them. Okay, I don't know how many students, me and others are working to support here, but I will figure out how to support First Nations that want to join the mining industry and make a career out of this, because there's no better way to make sure stuff is run right than to have your own people educated and operating, working in these positions. In Bolivia, our entire workforce, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 people, is Bolivian. They're wonderful. They're great operators, very, and that's the way it should be. The people in that area should be the first to benefit from mining. Okay, I will tell you. Okay, so send students to me. We will look at what we can do. All right.